One, two, three, test. One. One, two, three, test. Good news, everyone. Actually, bad news, everyone. Yeah. No, it sucks to get old because you start getting this Jack Nicholson look. Although I do, people say it's not me. People say I do look more like Sean Connery. Besh honeypenny. Anyway, after all those horrible impersonations, there is actually bad news in the market. TellTale Games is closing down. I used to love those games. I was always kind of whenever I saw it, because usually I think of bottlenecks and that. Options, yeah, I know that you have the same ending, several options that leave you. It's not really like that. Like, I soon found out. First, I watched an entire series, like the entire game playthrough of the Back to the Future Telltale game that they did, and I thought, man, that's interesting. There's a story there. It does make sense to the original movies. It's actually pretty interesting. So just like a TV series, I would just watch whenever I had time, and I watched the entire playthrough. So I don't feel like playing the game because I kind of know more or less all the endings, all the options, where they lead to, and all. But I got interested in trying, and that's an old one. That's an old game from them. So I decided to try the the Borderlands one that they had. I don't remember really, the Tales from the Borderlands. And it's actually a pretty good game. I loved it. It was very faithful to the, like, I really enjoyed Borderlands 2. In fact, I enjoyed Borderlands 2 more than I enjoyed Borderlands the original, despite the fact that the DLC, some of the DLCs of the original are pretty neat. But Borderlands 2 had a great story, fantastic villain. I think it's the best villain that I ever played in one of those games. I usually play games. If you want to know, what kind of game that you play? Well, other than strategy games that nowadays are not really my piece of cake. I used to be completely into strategy games. I used to, every time I need to clean up the studio, I actually put Shogun Total War 2, because I can kind of clean up, and then the pause thing gives me time to get out of the game, because it takes such a long time, and do a little cleaning, and then I get back. A secret folks, if you want to clean up and you're not really the clean and tidy kind of guy, but you need to do it anyway, it's really good to have one of those turn-based or similar into your computer, because you can play a little and you can clean a little, you can play a little, you can clean a little, play clean, and then when you see that everything is neat and tidy and you keep the order, and your girlfriend is impressed, wow, you really keep that, I wonder, wow, you must work a lot on it. Yeah, I sure do. But anyway, there's a tip. If you want to clean up but you really don't have you think you don't have the stamina, install one of those games that takes a long time to get, like, to, if you need to change from the map to the battle scene and then back to the map again, and every time you finish a turn you need to click, and then you need to wait for the whole thing to, like, all the other AI or all the other players to. So in the meanwhile, you can just do a part of the cleaning and get back to it. So that's one of my professional secrets. You know, I play and work at the same time. Works for me. I don't know if it works for everybody. But then when you come back to the game, you're also a bit more attentive. When you come back to the cleaning up, you're actually willing to do a little more because you're excited. Otherwise, you're going to, if you think about it, it's a huge waste of time, and you just get angry or bored that it takes a long time, and you're just sitting in your chair saying, "Come on." So, kind of stupid if you think about it, right? So, you know, time management is key to success. Has always been. Time is money. Remember? But anyway, used to be much more about strategy games. Nowadays, I'm enjoying those technically books, like visual books, that you decide the ending. Like I love that kind of stuff. Like reason why I like Fallout, especially the 3 and 4, because it's actually in 3D. Like I know if you're true. I had the ones in the early beginnings, but the three the three and New Vegas, they are really like, you know, it's a pity that the graphics are completely outdated, and you feel like you're talking to a comic character every now and then, which technically you are, and sometimes in some occasions. But I enjoy the storytelling. I enjoy the development, like especially New Vegas. I don't know how many writers they actually hired for that project. Unfortunately, they couldn't do the city of New Vegas as they really designed it because of lack of time. Like they gave it a very short time frame to finish the game, and it's horrible because it could have been really the greatest game of all times, because Fallout, especially the Fallout franchise, is very it always comes with new ideas, with new concepts that are and nowadays I just feel like with the Fallout 4 it was kind of they are following after, they are running after the other, when they used to be the ones like from the original Fallout. They filmed certain scenes, like they made Muppets, they made dolls, and they filmed certain scenes. So you that was kind of unseen other than Mortal Kombat perhaps, but it's a completely different genre, so it doesn't add to this. They really like improved, and in Fallout, oh yeah, Fallout 2, they improved a little more, and I think they even improved in Fallout 3 by making it 3D. Like it was very daring because it went completely out of the way of the how the games were. But it was a huge breakthrough in a lot of senses because it brought a whole different kind of gamer into the. And times change and they develop and they should. Do you understand? This is why I'm not so critical about the Fallout 76. I like already the idea, I like the story, I like the fact that they didn't make it Fallout 5, because obviously Fallout 5 will be a more one like a more personal experience. Perhaps they will allow instead of companions. They're testing. You understand? I see Fallout 76 as a test to something way bigger, actually. But let's face it, Fallout 4 followed more through with what other games were doing than created anything. But and the problem is always in the but. The beauty of Fallout 4 was that they really improved certain aspects of the game. Everybody used to complain about how clunky the guns were, the weapons were in the Fallout franchise. Everybody complained about the power armor, and to be honest, it felt ridiculous. You know, another thing that basically felt clunky, but like it felt like you were dressed in a tin can, just like the armor of the Institute that feels that way if you look at. It's ridiculous. I despised it. Um, However, it's fascinating to see what they did in that sense in Fallout 4. They fully fleshed the power armor. It became a power armor as you would imagine from the original games. You actually feel when you play the game, you feel you are in this technical tank of a power armor. It gives you a way better idea why is it so desired, why everybody wants it in the game. It's not just how much ammo the enemy can shoot at you before you go. It has a way more immersion in that sense. You feel when you have that power armor, you feel really immersed in that power armor. You feel that you're wearing it. The visuals of it, the adjustments you can make, fantastic. Like they nailed it with precision. That's the best, one of the best improvements I have seen in a game. Do you understand? In that sense, they did so well. I cannot really complain about Fallout 4. But they were not really creative. Like they were taking ideas from other games and trying it in Fallout 4. I don't have an issue with that, other than Fallout franchise has usually always improved. Uh, they always led, and now they kind of followed. However, they fixed a lot of issues from previous, and they tried it in 3D, which I find amazing. People say it's great once you pass the getting used to the controls, and but it's still very buggy, and like the original Fallout. Fallout games have always been extremely buggy. I remember the first ones, the 1 and 2, like it always crashed. And back then, when the game crashed, the computer crashed. So you had to give it a time, restart the computer again, so you could play it. Like it was annoying. Reason actually that I stopped and kind of ignored the Fallout franchise for a long time, to be honest. So because usually in the debate forums everybody wants to brag about, oh, I played the original Fallout, and it's just so fucking annoying. Shut up. I played that too. I didn't want to play. I stopped playing it because it was so buggy and the computer would keep and I had a kick-ass computer. I had IBM Aptiva. Remember? you if you are a gamer of those times, then you remember the IBM Aptiva. That was one of the top of the line PCs that were out there. So respect. I know where I'm coming from. So, and I remember it was a kick-ass computer. It was a very good computer. The game would crash. It would crash that computer. It was horrible. So I decided to go for the strategy genre. First game I ever played was Caesar 2. A girlfriend bought it to me because I had this huge computer and I didn't have any games on it. And then I kind of became, for some years, kind of like the online gamer. That ugly bastard there was really into it. And I remember those times were so much fun. Like the people playing Quake. Was it Quake? I think it was Quake. They would hack your computer sometimes because very few people had a really good connection, so they kind of hacked into systems and tried to. And I would let them play. Like sometimes I would see that in the background something else was happening, and then suddenly people were playing, and then they tell, oh shit, they talked, oh shit, he got us. And then I said, no, keep on playing. I like it. I want to watch it. And then, oh man, you're cool, man, and all that. And they kept on playing. As far as I remember, I don't know if I was dreaming, but I used to stay like. First time I played Caesar 2, it was 24 hours straight, like bang. The game, I was so fascinated about that game that it actually, it kept me going for 24 hours straight. Like at the end of the day, my eyes were popped red and, I couldn't do anything anymore, but it was so awesome. It was a new experience, so amazing. Amazing experience. The graphics back in the days of Caesar 2, they were fantastic. and you could battle. You could do battle things. You could put troops to formations and stuff. It was really well thought through. Really good game. And then I played Vikings, the ultimate guide of conquest and all that. Fantastic game, great music. I'll never forget the music of that game. If there is music, game music that I think should really be renewed, it should be Vikings, the ultimate strategy game, or whatever they called it. It was a long name. What a game! It was so well done, so well researched, and of course, exception of the horns and such, every now and then, not all the time. But it was really well done with what they had available. The music fantastic, fantastic music. Very much, you felt it. Good story, lots of, you could choose if you would play just, a realistic thing, or if you would get into the fantasy of the myths and sagas, going in the caves and searching for treasures and magical things. But you could choose, like, you could end the game doing both, even if you wanted. But I usually I chose to do the conquering thing, but it was very interesting, very interesting. Great idea of a game. They should do more like this one, because it was great. With better graphics, it would be just fascinating. I didn't like so much the Thrones of Britannia, but I didn't play it either, so I can't criticize. But yeah, after that game, Viking games have been a bit dull. That game had it. It had the story, it had the passion, the music, everything was in perfect, except for the graphics and some of bugs related to some maps in the game, but it was fantastic nonetheless. But the options were almost, endless. But then I met my, uh, what's the name for that? The game that really takes you out forever. The game that logs you out from reality. That was, wow, that was Civilization 2. Just one more turn. I'm going, just one more turn. Yeah, I know, I need to work, just one more turn. I need to go to university, just, fuck it, I'm going to stay today. Screw university, I need to finish this. Civilization 2, what a game, what a game. Man, amazing, amazing game. Locked me and half of my generation that was in touch with the gaming universe of the 90s completely out of the real world. Like, it was really consuming. It was really consuming. That game really got me. Like, for some years I played it non-stop, and I met later on players who played it non-stop, and it was just, the things, the strategies would exchange ideas, and I could see who used to play like me in the deity level. Like, because once you got good at that game, you only wanted to play really deity like, because you figured out what you needed to do, so you just did it, and you did it well, and it was still hard. If you weren't careful, things would get in your way, because the AI would kind of cheat to try to get every now and then to try to get ahead of you. So it was a competition against cheating, like against the computer intentionally cheating on you. What was kind of a trademark during the 90s, or at least the 0 years of games. The games would be uh, they would be constructed in a way, programmed in a way that they were supposed to cheat to compensate for the lack of AI, which is, I find it bullshit. But I'll call it laziness, because you can do decent AI even if it is very limited, if you just program it right. But anyway, in that way, I got in touch with um, Shogun Total Warfare. That game was in the level of interest as Civilization 2 for me. Shogun was a great game, really well done. Graphically, visually, it was just perfect. It was sublime. Sublime is the word back in the days for Shogun. And then I played some other games from that specific franchise, but I really believe that the peak was Shogun Total War 2. That was the peak of that specific company. That was their top. After that, they declined. Like the latest games I bought, even Attila, boring, dull. There is a little city here, and then you need to walk. It's just like DayZ, the new um, word standalone. Um, DayZ is kind of a walking simulator, right? Uh, Attila was basically a line drawing simulator like you. And then no matter how many troops you build, other troops will just pop out of nowhere and suddenly, you know, I think the new staff, because of a new staff, I don't know why they fired the older, and they got the new staff, and the new staff like a little sociopath. The guy looks like a typical little sociopath. When they succeed, when they manage to get graduated, so they can brag about something in their lives instead of just committing suicide. Yeah, sociopaths, when they can't make it to a position where they can oppress or screw with other people, they literally turn on themselves. It's pretty weird to see. But anyway, they stopped taking showers. Disgraceful. Um, so back to the topic. I don't know why I needed to go to that tangent, but for later reference, for the future generations, people. That's who Yan Pei was, you know. I used to play video games. Yeah. It will probably be a crime in the future. I'm pretty sure the way things are going, if they don't stop that madness, saying that you are a gamer is going to be a crime in the future. Believe me. Although there's nothing more peaceful than a guy stuck in front of his computer just playing a game and not wanting any trouble, just to sit down and playing a fucking game. No, no. Guys having good times, that can't be. Although it's not just guys. There's a lot of girls I met. There's a lot of you cannot define really in terms of gender because they get to choose. Fair enough. A lot of those, and they are actually pretty good gamers. I only met from those in the online. I never met personally, but online from the transgendered crew. I only met those who were really good at playing games. Never met one who sucked, like straight guys. There's a lot of straight guys that suck in playing games. So Borderlands and Borderlands 2 and how much I played, as you can see, I played a lot of games until I reached Borderlands 2, that now I'm going to resume, as I usually do in my videos, resume back to the topic, so you can know a little more of my background about games. Where is this guy? What does he know about anything? Noob. That's so old. Nowadays they don't use that anymore, do they? So, yeah, when TellTales came along with that idea of making I was, you know, because Borderlands 2 was a pretty good game for me. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I even I did like Borderlands the pre-sequel. I thought it was a great idea, although I would have preferred that it was the real Jack and not the doppelganger. But, you know, they don't want to screw with people's minds to make a bad guy a good guy and all that. But anyway, although he was a good guy in the pre-sequel, there were some great moments, and I like the improvements that they made for the Borderlands the pre-sequel. The froze, the weapon that could freeze, and the butt slam, and all the stuff related to it. Very interesting. But yes, so basically what I like in those games, and in fact I'm a bit appalled that in a way I'm kind of that people still play Borderlands 2. I will find whenever I log into Steam, I will find the same people that I met in game that were really good at it. Some I helped to become good when I was already OP8 or 8 OP or whatever. Been a time I don't play it because I accomplished the story several times over, and in several different ways, and it was great. I got to know every one of the playable characters, and pretty neat, pretty good, very original, especially the design that reminds me a lot of Simon Bisley's style of drawing, and I loved Lobo in terms of comic books. So when I saw Borderlands 2 and their design and everything, I thought, that's awesome. Yeah, I really want to play. Although it's a shooting, it's a pew pew game, and I despised back then the pew pew games because they are usually brain dead. That game seems promising. It's playful. It has jokes in it. It's kind of witty in a way. I like it. And it looks definitely like something out of Lobo comics that Simon Bisley would draw. So yeah, I'm in. I'm in. I want to see that. Like I draw myself, and I draw myself. So that kind of stuff really interests me. I wanted to see, to feel the artwork of that game as well. That's another thing that attracts me in games. Usually in second, the story is really like story development is really what, like reading a book, you understand? I believe this is the modern way books are written. I think writers should focus instead of trying to get a book edited that very few people will read, even if it is an amazing book. I really believe that writers should get their shit together, stop whining and drinking too much, or using drugs or whatever, drinking too much coffee, and really like talk with someone that knows programming and say, hey, look, I'm a writer, I have that story to pitch you. If you can help me develop this thing, let's put it on. Sometimes I really feel like starting a gaming company. I like if you have the ability today to download the software from Unreal and CryEngine, you should thank, I wouldn't say thank me, because I'm pretty sure others had to do with it, but thank me as well, because I wrote to the editor or to the owner of those companies, and I talked with them, and we wrote emails and letters back and forth, and they actually, I think I still have copies of it somewhere. One day I'm going to show here. That's back in the days when they used to, it used to cost millions if you wanted a license from CryEngine and a license from Unreal. Just like to be a member of Gmail in the beginning, you had to be invited, and then you could invite 8 people. First there were 3, then 4, then 8 people, as far as I remember. So CryEngine used to cost a lot if you wanted to be a developer, a game developer. 4 or 5 million or something. A bit cheaper, I think, if you were doing for school. I think they let you use some of the stuff for free, but you had to prove you were educational institution or something like that. So they had their perks, and I threw that pitch to those CEOs, and I asked, hey, wouldn't it be clever if, and it's all in the letters, if I can find it, I'm going to show it. If you could kind of, for those who want to try it, those who are not teachers and are not educating in IT, but they want to develop a computer game, to let them kind of try it, and then like to have access to it so they can do, and sure, then they can put a big fat logo of your of your company and the stuff. But then, that way you can kind of sell. But for the indie people like me, for the humble people like me, and they wrote back, and they were actually, I was surprised. I didn't expect. I expect at least a secretary or something. No, they wrote directly back, and I like this new style of business management, that they get in touch personally. And I could see by their tone that they were really into playing games, or into the game development, because he was passionate. Sure, he couldn't promise, but he put it in the discussions, and he basically showed my letter as an example, and stuff like that, to convince the board to kind of let the indie try it out. So I actually got a good deal. I could actually use the educational material until they let game developers try. Unfortunately, a few kind of abused it, so I think they stepped back. But I don't know, I lost touch, I lost interest. Too complicated when I realized the amount of work, although it was not as complicated as I would have thought. But I just had a child, and I didn't really have the time to just be sitting in front of a computer anymore. No, I did not have a child. My girlfriend had a child, but you get the point. So I helped her, literally I helped her, because the nurses were so incompetent. I literally had to take it out, because and later on I found out in that hospital a lot of kids kind of died during birth, because the nurses, I could see that there was something wrong there, especially when yeah, never mind, personal life, back to the topic. Thank God at that time I was kind of, I had some knowledge of hospitals and what to do in those situations. But Borderlands 2 and TellTales, it was very faithful to the lore of the game. It tried its best to put a character that was completely well related, and they did it perfectly. And it was really nice. And what they did to Jack, it didn't take him out of. It was sad, because Jack was actually, of the whole game, Jack was my favorite character. So it was sad, but let's face it, he was the bad guy. He went nuts, so he was hopeless. He was helpless, and like he got really deranged. So yeah, fair enough. It was sad, which gives extra credit, because they could translate that moment, because they knew how many Borderlands gamers loved handsome Jack. Like liked his humor, his wits, his way of being a frenemy. So it was great. It was great to see it, and to see, even if it was to see it go once and for all. But it was a great ending. It was a great ending. Well done, well written. So nice to have good writers into something. So it was enjoyable, highly enjoyable, very cheap. So what I think games should be. Someone who remembers buying Civilization 2, one of the best games of all times, is undeniable, for what, less than $20. Less than $20. One of the top games of all time. Same thing to Fallout. Jesus, I thought I bought Fallout for $5, 5.15. I don't remember, but it was below average, the price. And games were really cheap. So, but hey, supply and demand. Fair enough, supply and demand. If a company has to spend 5 millions to have the right to use a certain software to develop games, so why not? Makes sense. It was a bit higher. People love it, so yeah. But still, Still remember the times they were cheap. And they are getting cheap again. They're getting cheap because now they're making so many of them that they will have to cheapen it down. Especially because they tend to screw up lately. And then people get really complaining and they refuse to buy, and some big franchises have been a disaster because of what they did to them. So looking at you, EA, everybody knows. Looking at you, Total War franchise. Disappointment after disappointment. And I will defend even Napoleon Total War and Empire's Total War, because they had a lot of developments. I don't know why people are complaining so much. You could enter buildings. Come on, you could enter the cities and occupy buildings and fight inside the buildings. You could build trenches. They were, I believe, they were preparing for a Total War if the old team stayed. What they were doing, they were preparing for a Total War World War One by the stuff, by the kind of mechanics that they were trying to apply in, for instance, Napoleon Total War, where you could literally dig trenches. You could put your troops to dig trenches and prepare the field to a battle with trenches and pikes and everything. That's a preparation for trench warfare right there. You know, they were probably trying to develop flight, what they did in the Warhammer Total War, that you could clearly see the direction this was going with those games they were developing. But back to TellTales. I haven't played several of the other games they have in the franchise. I toyed a little with the Game of Thrones. I saw some videos, but I was playing so many other games back, and I had so much other stuff to do that I couldn't have time to lay back and just enjoy a tale, like reading a book. You know, you need some time to get into that. At least I do. So I didn't have time for that. It would be stressing, and I don't want to go, 24 hours straight. Especially because I can't nowadays. But it's a pity to let it go. My suggestion to the company, if they ever watch this pitiful video, is to try to crowdfund, because you have several fans. Even I am willing to cash in if it need be. But if you would crowdfund at least the last episodes of this season to see how it goes with the crowdfunding of The Last of Us, that is a TellTale Magnus Opus based on what I heard from anyone who plays your games. That's the one people seem to like most. That and the werewolf thing, that's not me. Too much fantasy. I like a bit more zombies. Not so much of a fantasy. If you consider those epidemics we are having nowadays, the modern epidemics, I wouldn't discard the day that they do something just to try to sell medicine. They done it before, why wouldn't they do it now? They done it in smaller scale, but the way that governments are going crazy, and the politicians, when they talk, is like they resent their electorate. They resent the people who put them in power. It's the craziest thing. When they talk about them, the whole body language, the way that they twist their mouth, ugh, people. It's so disgusting. Especially, like, it's more obvious in Europe. That you kind of wonder, man, how long it will take before Europeans riot and start chopping their heads again, like it has always been in Europe. And now I know why. I'm experiencing it in first hand. Politicians going amok. Like, I don't know what happens to Europeans. It's like, salmon that once a year they need to, climb the waterfalls and back to a place so they can procreate and die. Here in Europe, every 50 years they go crazy and I don't know if they even resort to cannibalism and God what not in those wars, that they need to burn the bodies and such. But I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in Europe that kind of makes you wonder what kind of people live here. So good, like I can't complain about Denmark. Nice place, nice people, at least so far so good. But the politicians, for the love of God, man, what planet do they live in? Because they're not living in this one. I can assure you that. And that might bring problems for them in the future. And oh, they can't even see it. So you kind of start thinking if they are really bright in the head. Oh, I have a degree, and yeah, if you get late, look, I've been in academia, okay? I've seen things. I know what the hell goes on. I took out of it because I didn't want anything to do with it. Because of the thing, some of the things that I seen and I felt in there, this is going to blow in their face, and it did. 1 year after I left, there was a huge scandal in the university, and a lot of people got fired. And you know, I might eventually go back just to see if they still there. Probably are. If I know Europe, they probably are. It's the whole yes, prime minister thing, you know. A comedy series that I highly recommend, so you can understand the mindset of the politicians here, the political structure of Europe. Anywho, start a crowdfunding. TellTale games. Start a crowdfunding. People who play the game, who love that game, start crowdfunding. It's really fun, especially if you're really into the genre. That's the place for you. It's a very specific genre, and I really think it needs to get out more there. I like I those people who read Harry Potter, they should be playing Telltale games. They definitely should. I think that's the stuff for them. That's where they get into the. Also because it has to do like with franchises that are recognized, that are popular, that they get the rights to do a side story based in the lore, and they do it really well. In that sense, it's perfect. It's perfect. Like I cannot complain. There are things that, oh man, so no matter what I do in this specific situation, it leads to that anyway. So I kind of have an issue with, but there are things that I have seen that completely unfold in a totally different direction in that game that, I didn't even think. Like the situation with Athena, if you treat her well, like it develops, unfolds completely different if you treat her bad. Several bad, nasty things happen later on because she gets to be your enemy. So very interesting, very well written, and that shouldn't stop. That shouldn't stop. That shouldn't die out. And I really believe, like, screw the investors. All the investors, all the gaming investors want is money. That's all they want. They don't care about the game. So what happens usually? Microtransactions, loot boxes. Buy your loot box. Get I don't know how many things. So you don't need to play the game literally. You can just pay $500 and you don't need to play the game. Like the game is played, you just get everything and you just go around killing other players. You know, I think that's really boring. There is no story, you don't get to feel the story, and you can just do things and you don't have any sense of loss because you don't need to struggle. Like the whole point of reading a really good book is that usually there's struggle in the book, and you kind of wonder, I wonder what I would do in that situation. There you can actually have, in games, you can actually choose, oh, I wonder if I can do that, if I can do this. Now, games still need to improve a little more. You should be able to get, especially GTA, you should be able to get into every building and every house and because there are games that have lower capacities than GTA, and you literally can get into every single building with several floors, and so it's not an excuse for GTA to not to do that in their GTA city there. Like you should be able to get into every building, or not, or be shot or whatever. Like every building should have its own little story, you know. But it's kind of lame nowadays. You know, DayZ had a lot of that. Although I prefer the original DayZ when it was mod because it has much more options than the actual DayZ standalone that has no options really. Half of the things you can do in the original DayZ mod, um, you cannot do in the new one, but you can enter a little more buildings. Well done, congratulations. Low effort, extremely low effort. A game I would have liked to play, but they kept even the zombies when the whole zombie thing developed, and I mean developed not in the sense it got old, but in a sense that nowadays you can literally struggle with a zombie. Like you can chop limbs off of a zombie. You understand? You cannot do that in the DayZ, and you should be able to, especially with the amount of cash that those guys were shoved by the fans. And this is why I tell you, if DayZ could pull it out and still be lazy and people still buy that, TellTale with their style and with their quality should be able to do it, should be able to pull it through. Like if they declare that they, although I'm not very popular in the internet, but if they declare that they are willing to crowdfund Telltales, at least finish the season of The Last of Us, this season that they actually promised anyway, so they should finish it. They should put it to crowdfunding. I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of people who jump in. Forget the investors. Forget the investors. I've seen so many successful games that can keep themselves up by the fans. Do you understand? So it's silly to count on investors nowadays. Because investors, they want you to do microtransactions and things that gamers hate, and then gamers don't buy the game because they know it's going to be about that, and there is no fun in playing the game. Even the pew pew, I'm actually positively impressed about the shooting games, because even the players of those games are kind of disgruntled and they refuse to buy something that you can just buy yourself into. So why play it, right? Just buy it. So I understand the anger, and you shouldn't buy. You shouldn't buy any game that offers you microtransactions or such thing. Don't buy it. You know. And those games that you never played, you don't know what it is about, and they ask for uh, purchase and stuff like that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Only if you are really 100% sure that there will be quality in the end, you should do it. And that usually with a well-established franchise you kind of have. Like for instance, the whole Fallout thing. I'm willing to risk. I risked in the Total War. I risked for Shogun 2. I pre-ordered, and it was good because it is a fantastic game. I still play it, as I said. Whenever I need to clean up, I just put it on, and then I start cleaning up and playing the game at the same time. Usually around 4 hours I'm done with the thing, and I'm well ahead in the game. So they should really crowdfund, because Telltales, although it's not my favorite franchise, but the game that touched me, that I played, was really well done. It was top of the notch, faithful to the lore, flawless in the sense of story writing, and like based in the whole concept of the game. It was fantastic. The ending of spoiler alerts, Virtual Jack, was amazing. And spoiler alerts. So I recommend that to crowdfund. If they Put it as an option. I already wrote to them, to the company, asking, hey, why don't you try to do a crowdfunding for the last episodes of Last of Us, especially because I feel like playing. I didn't even play the original Last of Us, but I feel like playing that one because, no, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, not The Last of Us. People might be by now saying, what the fuck is that he talking about? The Walking Dead. I watched the original series. I read the comics. Actually, the only comics I currently read. I don't know. The concept of going against the unknown is kind of appealing to me, and um, I recommend you do that. I wrote to the company. I gave them that idea. Try crowdfunding The Walking Dead last episodes. You know, just because you kind of promised to deliver a full season still, and it shouldn't be dying out in the second episode. Like, let's try to crowdfund the next episodes. Try to, slowly but surely get away of the investors and more into the fan base. I really think this is the way. Because another thing I liked, the company still kept going. They weren't having real profit, but they were being able to, live and carry on with the company. And I think personally, because I live like that, so I can kind of say that I think you should work to sustain what you like doing, to sustain your lifestyle. But that's me. I'm not an ambitious man in that sense. I play with the idea, I have a project that toys with the concept, but it's more in a philosophical sense than properly the reality I live, you know? Because I'm very simple, very like, I have the stuff I like, and I don't feel like humiliating myself for more, if you understand what I mean. I enjoy quality time, not quantity time, if you understand. So I live that way, and I live pretty happy. I'm raising a family based on that. It works pretty fine for me. I'm definitely not the guy running after the carrot at the end of the stick. So if it happens one day I become rich, then hooray! I'll do something good about it. Believe me, something that others can benefit from. It will not. I won't keep it for myself. But I don't expect that to happen. I don't count on it. Therefore, I don't do more than I'm willing to do. He says it now, then suddenly someone say, "Hey," throws out $1 million. No, uh, no, no. Anyway, it's an idea to toy with. But so if you have $1 million, throw it at me and see what I will do with that. Believe me, you will profit from it. You will. Ideas, I have several. I just need the money to complete them. But back to the whole Telltales, they should crowdfund. I'm pretty sure that the gamers, the people who are already playing it, and the people who already paid for it, at least they should have a discount, or they should receive certain uh, quality time or thank you from the crew that is developing, or something like be invited, do a great event where they invite the people who already invested in the season, in the full season. They already bought the season. Those people should at least be invited for quality time with the creators of the whole Telltale games, because they deserve, because they believe in your company. And customers, very hard to get, and it's going to get harder, believe me, because now the customers, the consumer base, are understanding that they have the power. It's not the companies, they have the power. So the whole dynamic is changing. Everything is changing in that sense. So forget the investors there. They crave too much. They crave too much. They demand too much. They make you work harder than you should to be successful. And they force you to do things to the game that the gamers don't like. So if you're wondering why not more people buy our games, it's probably because of the investor board that just want more money, and tell them to gently go away. You have your fan base. You should really touch your fan base, offer them some stuff, not microtransactions, but some stuff they can feel good at. I don't know, T-shirts or some stuff they can get for believing in the company. But give them the games because they want those games. And sure, you might not live in millions, but who does? You know, very few people do. Let's be realistic. Do it if you like doing it, if you enjoy doing it, and you can see that people enjoy your work. That should be great. So you get to live well, you get to eat, you get to have a car, you get to have your stuff, and you get recognition from a lot of people. I don't know. Perhaps it's just crazy talk, but that's how I live and I'm pretty happy. So I wish those gaming companies would realize what really matters here. You know, them living matters. Of course, you need to survive, but you know, giving people what they want. Because people want Telltale games. I want to buy them. I can't play them right now, so I'm not buying it because I cannot play it at the moment. Right now, it would just be, I'm sorry, but you know, because I have other priorities, it would be wasting money. But when I have time, it will be a real good investment because I always get one or two new ideas that I already have, but one or two new ideas whenever I see one of those games. You know, they make me think about certain stuff that I'm not thinking, and then I work on those stuff, and it's just fantastic, you know. So I recommend crowdfund the last seasons, that you let the fans, you know, put the fans out there to ask them to call their friends. Like, they don't need to pay anything, they already paid it, so it's not fair to demand from the people who already purchased the season to actually buy anything else. But for the fans to go and compel their friends to play those games, to try those games, to see if they like those games, because I can see they're good. They're not my favorite genre, but they're good. I would play. Like, if I was given a selection of playing, for instance, the last Battlefield game and a Telltale's game, I would buy a Telltale's game without blinking an eye, because I know there will be a good story, there will be an interesting development, and there will be jokes, there will be fun. You can relax while sipping tea sometimes, and sometimes spitting the tea because you need to press the button like this, or like, but hey, that's part of the game. I really like those games, that kind of game. Although, again, my top thing is the strategy. Actually, thinking about it, Tropico, the original one, the original Tropico, that game stole my heart. That game stole my heart. I played it, I think, as much as I played Civilization 2 and Shogun. So, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened. That it just became a Slavic version of Tropico afterwards. Yeah, like it took all the components that were really, really tropical. Like, I lived in a tropical island, and when I played Tropical, and my entire family played Tropical. That's how good a game is. Why? Because we could relate. Oh, look, that's just like it is in real Latin America. So we lived in an island for some time, for some years, for a few years. And then suddenly a game like that, Tropico, pops in, and wow, that's funny. I like the song. Very Latin American. So you play it, and oh my God, the roads, they're just like those, you know, Earth roads that they have. And the people, look, the people are talking and they are thinking, and wow, and it has sense of humor. The cows, do the cows think? Let's see, click. Moo. Oh my God, they're thinking. Fascinating. Like, that's a good game. And people play that. Might not be the top game that all the preteens and teens play, but it's a game to play nonetheless. So, yeah, Telltale games should appeal to their customers, to their fan base, to get more players. If they say that, and forget, like, end the contract with those companies that you're bound to do what you must to keep that, but focus in your customer base. Do your games for your customer base because they can get you more. There's no better. Like me, I ended up, I found the game. I loved the game. I showed it to my parents. My parents loved the game. My parents bought the game. My parents played the game. Every now and then, my father can't find his game, so he buys a new Tropical original, only the original. He buys a new Tropical to play it. That's a game, and I believe that's a genre. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the original Tropical team, but you can't feel it in all the other Tropical games. It's not the same soul. It doesn't have. They're good. They're good. Good. It's not the same thing. You don't feel the soul, the Latin American soul there that you can feel in the original Tropical, and that's missing. You know. But that's another topic. Topic being, if a game is good, if a franchise is good, you should continue the formula. Don't change the formula. Don't kill the formula. And you should appeal to your fan base to get more of their friends and family to play that game, because they will probably love it. And I see so many successful games that do it like that. Even No Man's Sky, that they promised the world, and that they could. Of course, it's just a small group of people. They want to do it, and now they show that they really wanted to do it. It's not just bullshit. Plus, they felt compelled because they felt that they betrayed. But there are people who like doing the game, and I just hope this is the case with the people from Telltale. I hope they like the game, developing the games. So they have to appeal to and get rid of the investors. Investors are annoying. They're bad. They're actually bad for business in a way that you can't really do what you want, because there's always those annoying people. Money, money. I need more money. I need my 8 millions. I need my 8 millions. If I don't get my 8 millions in this year, oh my God, I'm going. I can't buy the prostitutes, and I cannot buy my jet, my new jet. I need a new jet every year. Forget those lunatics. You understand? They're in a completely different vibe than the gamers who just want to have a good time. So if you can give your gamers a good time, you have a name that people recognize as your own very specific genre. Nobody does it like you do. That's a great thing to have in the business world. You have a branch. Now, you might have a poor marketing. That might be your problem. But you have a brand that is very original. That even that is not my favorite style of games, because I think it's kind of limited in some ways. But I'm curious. I want to play. If I have the time again, I will play it. I can assure you, I'll buy the whole series in a pack just to go straight through it, to whenever I can find. Next time that the family travels in a vacation, I'm just going to, and I have all my paintings, all my work ready here, so I can just send it and ship it. I will just sit down and just go through it, like plow through it for days, into that universe that you offer, because I like the story. I like the ideas. I want to play it. I want to be a part of it. It is compelling. I didn't do it yet, but I will do it. So don't stop it. Not just because of me, I'm just one person. But I'm willing. You put it to crowdfunding. I'm going to do publicity everywhere because this is a franchise that needs to go on because there are not many like you. And there should be. You should be an inspiration. And if investors can see that you can march without them, perhaps still keep them away. Don't let them close to you because you have a good formula. Don't spoil it with what investors want. Because they just want their 8 millions. If they get less than 8 millions, their friends are going to laugh at them. And that, for them, is death. Yeah, basically, it's technically the reason that they, like in Denmark, we had a case that an executive, because he lost his job, he lost his mind, he he put his entire house, he burned down his house with his family inside. What the fuck, man? That's the kind of people we are talking when we are talking about those high executives. Do you understand? They are not really right in the head as the rest of us. I mean, really, if you burn your entire family because you are thinking about the shame that you won't be in the same social circle anymore, well, screw you. You're a psychopath. You are going to kill your entire family? Is that really the solution? Is that really the kind of genius that we need help from? I don't think so. No, crazy people, man. Some of them, not all, of course. There are probably nice people there, but they usually get fired because they're nice. So, we need to get rid of that. That kind of capitalism, yes, I usually defend capitalism, usually because the people criticizing don't even know what the word means. They don't know what it means. They don't know. I ask, okay, what's the word? What does capitalism means? And not for you. Because no. What does it mean? The reaction is always, I swear, always the same. They start attacking you and they never tell you what capitalism is. It's like they have a fear of that word. It's crazy. Another kind of crazy is the other side of the crazy. But there's also crazy in the capitalist side, in the executives, big business, big shot kind of guys there. They're nuts. Some of them, again, hashtag not all and all that. But you get the point, right? If you're willing to burn your family or throw yourself from your office because you lost your job, there's something wrong with you, because you can always get a job, especially if you're in a high circle. Sure, for some time you will be lower in your income. Hey, that's life. But the fact that you can't cope with the fact that you'll be in lower income than you are, to the point that you kill your entire family and yourself. He killed them all because he didn't want them to go through all this shame. I sense some guilt there because they probably snobbed everybody, and then suddenly, and he couldn't live with the fact that he was now object of the snobbery, like if people would do that. But in his mind, he's the guy snobbing people because he has more money than them and all that. So, and I met people like that, and they are fucking repulsive because they are worthless. And luckily I figured that out already very early when I was a kid. That kind of people, they exist, and you find out they will roll in the ground. They will do despicable things to themselves for something. And that's, for me, because I'm not like that, so that's pretty fascinating to see, fascinating to find out. Not that I do that very often. I stay away because I can see a difference of behavioral patterns, if you want to call it like that. I'm not like that, but I know many people are. If that's the way they are, fair enough. I respect. If, although respect is far from it, because if you are willing to do despicable things for something, then perhaps, no, perhaps respect is not the word for those people. But um, some people are like that. They think that they need to be probably to survive. Some might think that that's the only way to be. They don't know any better. And that must be horrifying. Imagine to have the epiphany that you would realize, not that it is true, but you will believe that the world is like that. You need to do repulsive, like you need to humiliate yourself in pro of achieving something. Well, that's just that's not me. So as you can see, so it's really something to ponder, I believe. I think you have a shot if Telltale decide to do that. They might have a shot. And please, for the love of God, stay away from investors, because they just want more money and they want to force you to do things that you know is a bad idea and you know it's not going to work, but you have to do. It's like signing a pact with the devil, you understand? Like you're bound by the terms to give away your soul uh, for that momentaneous benefit. So, I don't know if it is worth it. So avoid that and count with the people who like your product. Ask them to, promote it for you. If your marketing sucks, ask your fan base, because you have a fan base. You have a hardcore fan base. You have people like me who will buy your games. So, I won't buy it right now because I can't. I really can't. There's so many things I need to do that I can't. However, I will. I want to. I feel like when I have the time, when things are done here, I will sit down and play many of them. So, because they seem promising. There is story, there is storytelling, there is development. You can make some choices. You cannot make choices all the time, but you can make some choices, and that's good. So that's fair enough. It is really kind of like reading a book in multimedia terms, and I like that idea. New concepts, new grounds. And you nail that market. You should hold on to it and make it work, because it can. I believe in that. And I'm not talking as a fan, you understand? I'm talking like a foreign observer who had a very good experience with the only product that I bought from you. I had an extremely fantastic experience. When I remember it with a smile. You understand? Good game. That's what comes to my mind. And sometimes, oh, I should play the game just to try something else to see what happens. So I recommend it, and I will recommend it. Put it in, put it out there, and I will do what I can to shake people to buy it for birthdays, for Christmas, whatever, but to buy it, because it's a good game to have. Better than just pew 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 pew. And amazing, some people are still playing Borderlands 2. I mean, I can't do that. I can't do that. They are really in there just to grind. To grind. I mean, imagine that. Oh, I got this super weapon. Yeah, sure, but you can. When I found out that you could actually copy and just pass it on to somebody else, I thought, what the fuck? No way I'm going to go through this super duper character there that they now developed. Like Terramorphos, that was easy. Like they made some pretty hard ones after that. Um, no way I'm going to grind that again and again and again and again and again. Like it takes a different kind of person, probably the same kind of person that later on, 30 years from now, will burn the family because they were fired. No, I don't think so, but because they were gamers. They learned that if you fail, you try again. If gamers don't die, they respawn. So yeah, I said enough. Is anyone still here?